I would suggest to follow or to start with our first fantastic presenter, who is Jochen Grotenhöfer. Jochen Grotenhöfer has been working really closely with our office in the last 15 or more years, and I'm sure he will also introduce himself in a minute. We're ready for you to step in, Jochen. The stage is yours.
Jakob, thanks. As Jakob said, I'm Jochen Grotenhöfer. I've been working with human synergistic tools. I was looking it up the other day. As a participant, that goes back to the year of 1994, when I was exposed as a manager with KPMG to a training session that used human synergistics material. I was doing what was called the manager survey at the time, which was something like an LSI. So, and in 2002, I realized that the produce had sort of hit the shores of Germany, and I was getting accredited with the forerunner of what human synergistic interconnects is now. Eventually got to meet John, and we've been working together ever since. So it really goes back for some time, and I've been exposed to, I think, basically all the subject, the projects and tools that human synergistics got to offer, which is great fun and sort of gives me a bit of an insight into how the whole thing works. Today, I would like to give you a short run through with one of my more recent projects that had the benefit of using not only the organizational part of the story, but also the personal part, or the people part of human synergistics tool sets. And that was a company by the name of Spreadshirt. And I've prepared a few slides that I want to share with you. That firm came to me in February of 2015, called me and said, can we work together on culture? And before I go into the details, I'll just give you an idea of what they are and what they do, and you might have heard of them before.
Are we supposed to hear audio?
So that was Spreadshirt. That's the company I was dealing with. Spreadshirt, you might or might not know, runs a social commerce enterprise, as they call it, basically offering a platform by which you can upload your own designs and offer them for sale. They will take your designs and put them on t-shirts and hoodies and all sorts of marketing. Well, initially it was just apparel, it was just clothing. Now they're doing a lot more. They were founded in the early 2000s, I think it was 2001, by a Polish guy by the name of Lukasz and a German individual, Matthias Spies. And they started off as a startup, and they really sort of went up and down. They weren't really developing into a very strong organization initially. And then they got somebody in who was very experienced in running online businesses. He actually came from the UK, had been running the online operation of Tesco's, which is a large supermarket chain. And he took over in 2011, and he's the individual that I received a call from in 2015, basically saying, I'm fed up with what I'm doing here. I don't like the people around me. I really have a problem. What can I do? Please help. And the call that I received was really around the notion of we are a team which is very different. They all come from all different backgrounds, and we don't seem to be finding a common language. We seem to be doing more or less okay in terms of our financial situation. We've stabilized the business a bit, but it's really no big fun working here. So the problems that he described were that, in effect, the leadership team was dysfunctional. They couldn't work with each other. They had very different views on where to move with the company, where to go with it. English was the official language of a firm that was headquartered in Leipzig and had operations in Czechoslovakia, in Poland, and in the US. People were from, I think, at least 18 different countries. The leadership team was very diverse. They, on the one hand side, were looking after their part of the business in terms of, this is my silo, I don't really sort of care what the others are doing, except when I can criticize them in an area that I have no idea about. So the financial director was renowned for going around in this large, it was an old foundry in Leipzig, which is a huge building, which had very open spaces, and these spaces would be sort of intersected by glass walls. So you could, in a very open building, you could see what people were doing, and you sort of run around and sort of tell people that you didn't like the color of that website, and actually this should be done differently. And why wouldn't marketing sort of come up with a different way of doing things? He was the CFO, and he was second in place, but he was dealing with everybody else's business as well. And that behavior was taken up by the rest of the team to a greater or lesser extent as well. They were fighting in front of the staff, very helpful. And all in all, they were pretty ineffective in getting things done. The first day I got into that office, I found out that they had several projects flying around. And I said, well, who's responsible for these projects? And I basically said, well, when we have leadership meetings and we come across something like that, we'll just pick it up and throw it in one direction. And hopefully somebody picks it up and sort of runs with it. And I said, okay, and do they know what you expect them to do with it? And they said, no, we want them to work it out for themselves. So that was an organization that would allow their participants to come up with their own ideas and sort of run it the way they wanted. Just another example, the design team that was not only responsible for sort of looking after the designs that they had, but also accepting the designs that were coming from outside people, had no guideline as to what was acceptable. So if one individual thought that, for example, a Nazi symbol was a nice thing to have, then it would be on the page. Another one would think that was not a good idea and would leave it away. There was no common guidelines as to what was acceptable, ethical, or in some way threatening to the business. Everybody could do what they wanted to do to a greater or lesser extent. We then did, after we'd had some initial conversation, we came up with leadership impact. And I'll show you the composite leadership impact results of the team as a whole. And you can see that defensive and aggressive behavior was something that these leaders would promote in the people around them. Even though they themselves, Ideal Impact on top left, had a pretty clear idea of what they should be doing. And that idea to a certain extent was shared by their immediate higher level manager, in this case, the head of the supervisory boards. When it came to peers or direct reports, or any other people that they were dealing with, the picture was somewhat different. When we went into the individual reports for the 4 leading people, the CEO, the CFO, the COO, who was actually looking after the production, and the CTO, remember this is an internet firm, so they had somebody who was looking after the IT business. Those were the 4 most important people at the helm of the organization. You would have a very, very constructive CEO, even though at times he would have some signs of, shall we say, constructive, assimilated behaviors like perfectionism and approval. But all in all, he was still the best of the lot. The CFO, as I said before, was a very oppositional, very aggressive individual, large, burly man, who for himself thought that he was very constructive, but was seen throughout the firm as a very aggressive individual. Same particularly goes for the CTO, the production leader, who had problems with anybody else but his own team. And the IT leader, who again was fighting against the odds of having to run the core of the business and everybody else telling him what to do and what not to do. So an interesting outset, and we started with a whole set of interventions. We had several workshops that revolved around role plays. We used the simulations. We got them to operate beyond their comfort zone in areas that they hadn't seen before, exposed them to their own behavior. For example, I can remember one situation when I was actually pretending to be the head of the supervisory board, and I started screaming at some of my red leaders. And they looked at me and said, well, I don't like that. And I said, well, this is what you're doing to your people. And they took that in quite deeply. I have to say, they all were very receptive to what we discussed. I said before that the team was dealing with a lot of conflicts on the leadership level. We addressed that in several sessions. They usually had one common issue that they were trying to sort out, and we used to call it the issue of the week. It never lasted longer than a week, but every other week we had another subject bubbling up, and that would take over the interest and the management attention of the leadership team for a week or two, and needed to be resolved. We came across with things like, come up with an agenda, follow up on what you're doing, install a project manager who is supporting the C-level team. Little things on an organizational level that help them to see through what they had to do, and also deal with it and follow up on what they promised they would do. 3 months after we started the program, I got a call from the CEO, and this is what he told me. I've just realized that I don't spend as much time as I used to in trying to settle the arguments. Quite amazing. I'm not sure why that is the case, but it certainly has started to work. And I feel I'm becoming a more effective leader in what I'm doing. So those were the first very tender signs of healing within the organization, but it sort of pushed us further, and we decided to do an organizational cultural inventory. And when we did that, as you would, we asked them, the participants, all of the members of the firm were included, and that's not just that was about 350 people across the world, from the US to Poland, the Czech Republic, and the headquarters in Leipzig, who had their own production facility as well. And we would ask them for their views of the ideal culture, and this is what they got me. And I think you can't ask for anything more. By that time, about a year had passed, and they had understood the idea of this is a constructive firm, we want to behave in a certain way, this is what we like to just see in each other, this is what we're trying to achieve, this is how we work together, this is what we try to do for each other. And they grasped that, sort of, they embraced that philosophy and sort of reflected it in the ideal. Obviously, when we talk about the actual behavior, what is it that you see? What is the culture of the organization as you see it today? We would not quite expect that result. And in fact, this is what we got. And to be perfectly honest, it came as a bit of a shock to the leadership, because basically none of the constructive behaviors would even reach or be in the vicinity of 50% of the average. But we would have a very strong oppositional and avoidance-oriented behavior. And we started to think about why that was, together with what you wouldn't call a clear-cut constructive profile, but the energy level around any behavior was visibly pretty low. So what we did, we focused on oppositional avoidance behavior and started to work out what people sort of thought about that. When you do an OCI and OEI, you can actually ask for additional feedback in terms of what you like, not just in terms of rating the statements that we have in the questionnaire, but also free text. And this is what they said about the firm. And the nice thing was that they really sort of enjoyed working there and felt that there were good things that the firm should expand on, and things that the leadership liked to hear in terms of we're doing the right thing in certain areas. Obviously, when you ask about feedback, you not only get positive feedback, but also some sort of, shall we put it, in constructive feedback. Pay is so meager. Yeah, we're in East Germany. The pay is not quite the same as it would be in Berlin or Leipzig. You always get that. But also, we don't really understand why we are sort of basically building our strategy on other people. At the time and still today, Coffee Press, Redpoint, and a few other competitors were perceived as these are the leaders of the pack. They know what they're doing, and we are following them. And is that a good idea or not? People had different views on that. Again, something about the leadership behavior. Do we hire people that we need, or do we hire people that please us? Degrading the value of design and the user's needs. We're not following what the user wants, and we want to make our own decisions. All of these not surprising reactions when you ask people about the culture. Now, when we look at the outcome, we did see a few things that were really good. There was no stress. There was not a lot of role conflict within the team themselves. Cooperation would be good, above average, and the satisfaction was also better than 50% better than the average. On the other side, people felt that adaptability to what the market wants was not as good. Pushed around too many files. External adaptability in terms of what clients want, how long does it take us to do that? That had to do with technology. Initially, they were printing it. They changed their technology over time, but that was sort of involving a lot of investments that took too long for some people to see. Department level quality, they weren't sure whether that was good. And the overall motivation was perceived as something that we could possibly improve. Let me just move something here. I'm going to go into that too much. When we talk about the levers of change, and again, we weren't as bad as we might have thought we were, the distribution of importance, people had a lot to say, notwithstanding their hierarchy. It was a startup organization, it was a startup culture, average age of roughly about 30, very young crowd. They were working with each other very well in general terms. They felt empowered, no punishment. They could talk to their superiors with no boundaries. Even the CEO was readily available in an open space plan. So all of that was good. Interestingly, on the other side, they didn't feel that they had a lot of significance as an organization or as an individual. They felt whether or not I'm there doesn't really matter. Customer service focus was an issue, task identity, and the variety of jobs that they were doing. So those were the points that we addressed. And another thing that we felt was interesting was that, you know how we talk about leadership as being a big contributor to culture. Now, we found a few very interesting pieces of evidence that were contradicting that notion. In production and in customer service, as two examples, we had very good leaders profiles, even though the leader of the production, as I said before, was somewhat of an aggressive individual when it comes to sharing ideas. But other than that, he was seen by his own sort of people as a very constructive and sort of forceful, forward-going individual that you can talk to. The organization was relatively constructive as well. That was not too bad. Same with customer service. However, we also had two teams that also had really outstanding managers in terms of their behavior, product management and merchandising services, and had an absolutely lousy organizational culture. Now, you might assume that might have to do with the fact that these people weren't heading these organizations for a very long time. That wasn't the case. In merchandising service, that individual had been heading that organization for some 4 years, and product management, I think it was 3 years or something. So he would have had an effect. Now, why would an organization be so aggressive, defensive, when they had a very constructive leader? And it took us some time to work it out, but initially I think we found the solution. And the solution was not the individual. The solution was another piece of context, which I urge you to look at when you do something like that. And that's the communication with the other organizations. Production and customer service, those organizations that were relatively good as an organization, were physically detached from the rest of the firm and had very little exchange with the day-to-day business. They had their own buildings. Customer service was in the attic, and there was only one sort of staircase that led up to them. And they were looked after themselves. They were looking after themselves. They didn't have any exchange with the rest of the people, the rest of the organization. They did their thing, and they were happy to do that. Product management and merchandising service had their offices in the middle of the building. And as I said before, this building was basically a large hall, a foundry, used to be a foundry, where sort of walls of glass walls had been pulled up. So you could really see what was going on. And these two organizations, sub-organizations of the whole firm, had a lot of exchange with and intercourse with the rest of the organization, and that intercourse wasn't always pleasant. Product management in particular was under pressure from production, were under pressure from marketing, they were under pressure from finance. What are you doing? How much is this costing? Why aren't we doing it the other way around? Stuff like that. And that had a huge impact on the culture of these people. Yeah, the findings in a nutshell. the company culture, and I'll give you the company culture once again. Go and try out, but I won't tell you where we're going. And people were asking for leadership, and leadership was something that wasn't provided. So staff was doing something, staff was making mistakes. Of course, they were told off for doing that or spending so much time and money on something that didn't work out, obviously. Everybody had an opinion how things could be done. Everybody had an opinion about everything and everyone, even and particularly when it wasn't my own department. So production people would have a very clear idea of marketing should be doing, and marketing had a very clear idea that finance should be giving them more money and spend less money on other stuff like that. Clash of arguments was day-to-day business, but there was no right or wrong answer. So there was no referee who would sort of decree this is what we're doing, and these are the mistakes that we're allowed to make, and we'll try out a few things and let's see what happens. The company had no communication rules. It wasn't quite clear what we mean by constructive behavior. For example, that CFO, who was seen as a very red individual, was dumbstruck when we told him that. And he said, well, but I mean, well, I mean, I just tried to do the best for the company. I don't mean it as a personal attack to the people that I'm talking to, but it came across as such. So people disliked him for being very rough and direct and insulting in times. While he was turning around and saying, well, I don't mean it personal. Don't take it personal. It's not about you. It's about the issue. So that was a communication problem. Resulting in personal conflicts that were kept under the rug. You couldn't see them right away, but as somebody put it, I can fight bitterly with somebody, and then in the evening still go out and have a beer with him, but we're not particularly honest with each other in terms of what we really think. What did we do? Well, communication was the name of the game. They had what they called monthly stand-up sessions. And these stand-up sessions would basically consist of people sort of presenting their projects to the rest of the firm. These stand-up sessions became much more organized in terms of a clear-cut agenda for what was being presented, how it was presented. There needed to be a purpose for what people were presenting. And there was a short feedback session. That short feedback session was short. It was also facilitated. So you couldn't just flame like, I don't like this, and I think we should do something else, but you had to be constructive. Every 3 months, the management would present the business performance and the strategy. People would at all times know what the business performance were in terms of figures. They introduced a new targeting system in terms of quarterly objectives and key results. So everybody in the firm would need to talk to their immediate superior about his objectives for the next 3 months and the measuring criteria, the key results that they would like to put up against these objectives in order to measure them. I said before, they introduced a project manager who was reporting directly to the CEO and was basically holding up and following up on all the programs and projects that were run across functionally. We had 3 years of manager coaching sessions, starting at the top, going all the way down to the 3rd tier, and a yearly manager training on constructive communication offsite with the rest of the team. I did some research, and this is a verbatim that I found from one individual at Spreadshirt, who basically said this gave this as a description of the culture at Spreadshirt. You never stand alone. We share what we know with each other. What we achieve is made transparent on all levels. We have very flexible working hours and people are very approachable. And when you take the constructive norms of the Circumplex against that, you will find that they cover all 4 areas from achievement all the way down to affiliate behavior. And I thought that was really good. Today, Spreadshirt has reached a turnover of 140 million euros a year. They're second in the world in terms of print-on-demand apparel. They have lost their production leader 2 years ago, who actually fell sick because he was taking too much stress. Now they have a female production leader who's doing really well from what I hear. And the latest news is that the CEO, after 10 years at the helm of that organization, has prepared and communicated that he will step down from that role in March of 2021. So they have a lot of time to think through and search for somebody who will follow him in this role. The organization is doing really well, and the constructive behavior has become an integral part of their DNA. So much from my side. Thank you very much for your patience, and I think we're open for questions.
Thank you, Jochen, for your very interesting and valuable insight. If you are ready as well, Simon and Michael, the stage is yours.
All right, then let me start with a few words about the company, the coaching people with one big product, which is called the Leadership Campus, which started as a leadership education program a few years ago. It's a program during 2 years with intensive rate of trainings, coachings, sustainability like podcasts, quizzes, learning nuggets, and even in some companies a 24 hours coaching hotline. Through the years, we found out, surprise, surprise, that this has a huge effect on culture, on leadership culture. And we saw that it's obvious that something is changing and people understood the quality of the styles and constructive behavior. But in the end, they had a problem like, how do I bring it in my everyday business? So we thought about how we can use, on the one hand, the styles, the LSI, LWS or GSI, and combine it with another method that we're using in our trainings, which is training with seminar actors. So the idea is combining the reflection on the LSI with behavior trainings with seminar actors. And Michael will tell you a few words about the method, and then we want to show you a little bit and give you a little nugget on how that works.
Yeah, gerne. First, can I speak German? Is there anyone who doesn't understand? Yeah? Okay. So I try my very best. What we do as training actors is we professionally put our play into a didactic style. Is that understood? Can that be understood? Yeah. So that we are able to play out of psychological theories in order to achieve learning goals for the participants. We think is that all these stuff like LSI stuff, it can be really easily understood, but you have to bring it on the floor. You have to do something with it, and you learn from experience. So what we try to do is to to give the participants some kind of experience, how these styles sound, how they feel, and how they look like in a physical way. And to do that, and to give you an impression, we would like to demonstrate just one method in a feedback situation. So we establish a situation like I'm the leader of the company and Simon is my colleague. He failed to give me the report in time. He promised to bring me. And to be honest, I am pissed. It stressed me a lot. I couldn't work. I got the report 2 days later than promised. And now we're having a feedback situation in which I try to tell Simon that I need him to change this behavior. So I need him to be precisely on time the next time. What can I do in order to do that in a blue way, in the blue styles? Your job will be just to watch the situation. And if you like, you can use the comments to write down the styles you see when you watch me play. So please, your focus is on me in this situation. I don't know if there's a function in Zoom in which you can give me the close-up. I don't know. I'm the actor, I like close-ups. No reaction, is that possible?
No, Dana? Because she's the technical master.
The gallery view top right. So it's either
Right,
Sprecheransicht oder Galerieansicht.
right. And if you go on Sprecheransicht, then, or in speaker,
Speaker view.
Thank you.
and you should only see the one who speaks.
Plus the
Aha,
small.
okay.
Yeah.
So please put your focus on me and write down the styles, the LSI styles you see in my behavior. After that, we talk about what you said, what you saw. And I think I would like to show you some like two ways to do this this kind of conversation, the feedback situation. I'm pissed at Simon because he failed to deliver the report. I would like to have him be on time the next time. Plus, he's one of my best guys. I don't want to demotivate him. That's like a super problem at all. Situation understood? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Dan. I will just step aside and come back to have a proper entrance. Okay. So, okay. Simon, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready
Okay. Version 1.
and afraid.
Yo, Simon,
Hi.
how are you doing?
Oh, good. Little stressy, like
Yeah,
always.
stressy, huh? It's Corona situation, right? It's not so good.
No.
It's stressy.
Mm.
I can understand. This is like again here too. So it's so much to do. What can you do? At some point, you just have to accept it, I guess, and so we can all be thankful that it's not a war and something. That's okay. So you're doing okay, right?
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
still a lot of work, but okay.
Yeah. I realized there was some I don't know, but in the end you brought the report. I asked you.
Oh yeah, the report.
You remember?
Mhm.
It took you some time, right?
Mm.
Yeah. Understood, absolutely. No big problem. Just wanted to check in if everything is okay and see anything I can do.
Oh, well, no. Still it's a lot because I'm in all these projects.
Yeah. Okay. So if there's anything I can do, I just wanted you to know, to let you know that you can always ask for help or something, you know?
Oh, good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I rely on you,
appreciate
and
Yeah.
I know. Okay.
Yeah.
Simon, thank you for your time.
Yeah, of course.
I got calls all day here.
Yeah.
Thank you for checking in so quickly. See you next week, right?
Yeah, right. Have a good day.
Have a good time. Cheers up, man.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, version 1.
Version 1. Hey, before we start talking about this, I would like to show you another version of this. Write down all the comments, and after that we'll have we talk about it, as said. Okay? Simon, ready?
Yeah.
Simon.
Yeah, hi.
You hear me?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Simon, I'd like to make this short, and I have just one simple questions
Okay.
for you now.
Yeah.
Do you understand how much work I have? Do you understand that?
I guess so.
No, I'm talking here. Do you understand? I mean, this thing is ringing all day long.
Yeah.
And it does so, I don't know, 24 hours sometimes. And it does so for, I don't know, like 6 months now.
Okay.
You know what I really don't need?
No.
People who don't think for themselves. Okay? So,
Okay.
I'm really, really pissed. You want to be honest with each other, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just telling you, Simon, stay the fucking time, okay?
Yeah, but
The next time, no.
What are you talking about?
You know exactly what I'm talking about, man.
I'm
Sorry,
not-
you know, I'm not that kind of aggressive guy at all. Nothing. We can be friends, anything, right? We're
Yeah,
talking
okay.
like here. This is eye level, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Get it?
Yes.
This is me being straight. This is what we train all day long, okay? So just be in time the next time, okay?
Yeah, and
sorry, I have to hang up, man, okay?
Okay. Yeah, bye.
By the way, doing okay?
Yeah, everything is fine.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Simon, I gotta go. Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Yes, man.
Yeah.
Okay. That I like the most.
Yeah, lucky you.
Lucky me. Imagine this in real person and proper English. Simon, let's have a look at the comments.
Oh yeah. Let's see what we have.
Are there any comments?
Avoidance, approval. That was the first round. The second round, we have power, deep red. And boss was like all my managers in finance.
What?
Boss was like all my managers in finance.
Right, there you go. They studied all the good stuff, you know, like
In version 2.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Luisa, for that.
Yeah, the question we now, in order to reflect this, is, hey, why did you write down power? And where did you see this? What did you hear to make this connection? And who wrote it? John did. Okay, no, someone else.
Ja, ich
Jochen.
bin schon.
So how did you identify power? What did he do?
Well, the behavior for a start, the level of his voice, the way he put his command. I mean, it was not exactly inviting for communication. It was, I will tell you what I want.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm. What else? We have deep red. So that
Coming
means
from me,
yeah.
deep red. I think he was proactive, so not reactive. Than the first example we saw. What's been, you had nothing to say. You had to be quiet and to wait for his comments.
Mhm. So you saw something else than power as well?
The boasting,
Pardon?
the boasting, all the calls, all the
Yeah.
things that I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's all about me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm stressed. I'm important. I get all the calls. Do you get what I'm doing?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that for me was a bit of competition. I felt there was
All right.
verging into competition and
Absolutely.
opposition on
Yeah.
both sides of the
Mhm.
power. He was wafting onto two sides.
So like I'm more important than you are because I have all the calls and mhm.
What
Right.
about the very ending of the second version?
Can you rewind?
It was when he took control by hanging up. I have to go.
No,
It's
no,
it's
no,
the
it's
ultimate
this.
power play.
No,
No,
there
the
was
only
one thing before. There was this, by the way, how are you doing?
How are you doing? Exactly.
Because
Yeah.
I'm
Like
such a nice
conciliation.
guy. Yeah, no, I'm just, I don't really need to ask you, but I still do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Performer.
Performer. Yeah, yeah. Maybe there is something blue, but we have all these beautiful circles.
It's a
Not
bit of
that much.
behavior and sort of
Yeah.
follow the rule of this is what you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been even nicer, Michael, if you would have put something like last but not least.
Yeah, last but not least, my dear friend, how are you doing? Yeah, but I mean, people are like that. Our goal is to fill this LSI with life, and people do this, and this is why we stumble about this. This is, people are not red all the time or green, acting green styles all the time. This is always, sometimes, or often, at least, some kind of combination. I mean, it's really interesting for our participants to to see this, to feel this, and here, and when you say, yeah, it's our colleagues in finance, yeah, so many people have got their own colleagues in mind, and this is where wo was hängen bleibt, wo
I would like to just add one piece, because
Yeah.
what I felt was actually an asset of you feeling not so at home in English, as you said.
yeah,
Because I think, I mean, I'm very strict and diligent with language as well when I do role plays with my participants. And it is not just about the words. It's so much more about the energy. So it's, yes, of course you ask for words and what is it that I do, but
Yeah.
it's also stuff like, at what point in the conversation do I ask something like, how are you?
absolutely.
And it's really the energy. And I think that's what is the most powerful in those role plays.
Yeah.
It's so,
Yeah.
from the head to the heart.
Yeah. So what we do next, or would do next, is to work with you on some changings of my behavior. I would start some version of this again, and each time you'd recognize some kind of behavior, of my behavior, you think was not me not being blue, acting in the blue style. You'd say stop and give me some advice what to do. So we, in this way, we can figure out some behavior during conflicts, feedback behavior, anything.
Which means there are a whole different types of methods that we can work with. Like this one is more like playing with a group, and you are more like the director, and you can say stop it at that point. You did this, please do that next, and Michael starts to play that a little different until we have a version which is really constructive. Another method is like having a role play where a leader comes along with a problem he has in his daily business with an employee, and he describes the employee, how he's acting, what he's saying, what is the core of the problem, and they start to play until the coach and the actor found some kind of system and idea what is happening there. Then we stop it. And the next is that we change the roles, which means the actor starts the role play again, but in this time he plays the leader as he saw him right before. So you can watch yourself acting, and that comes to the point that everyone says, yeah, of course, if I do it like this, it can't work. And that's the point where we change it back and say, okay, what did you understand right now? And what you want to try to change? And then we do it like a little coaching session and train it and train it, train it again until it works. And there are a lot of those methods that we are working using the LSI styles to get that styles into behavior that you can use directly in your leader life the next day. In this tool, I don't know what time. So how much time do we still have? Dana, Jacob.
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Michael, is it possible to have 1 or 2 stops to see how that works in the 5?
Not possible, I'm sorry.
It's too.
No, we can do that, of course.
Yeah, okay. So we can try it. Like Michael starts in a way which is not really constructive style, and whenever you you see something that you would like to do different, just say stop, describe very shortly what you saw, and give a very concrete thing that he should change. Like, don't say this, say that, or say it but say it in a different way. And then we start over, like making a fast play. Okay, so then let's start.
Okay. Hi, Simon.
Hey.
How you doing?
Yeah, a lot of work.
A lot of work, right?
Yeah.
Me too. I get it. Absolutely get it. Listen, man, no problem at all. Thank you for joining me. A lot of stress, right?
Yeah.
You
know, Corona makes everything crazy and
Can you stop?
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Ooh, not really. So why did you say stop?
Well, can I have a bit more energy and in particular more eye contact?
Okay.
Okay.
What do you mean by energy, Richard?
Yeah.
What do you mean by energy, Jochen?
A firm voice and with quivering a bit. I don't mean like shouting, but sort of I mean, stand up for who you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Present yourself.
All right. So then let's go on.
Hey, Simon.
Hi.
How you doing?
A lot of work, but okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, here too. Absolutely.
Yeah, I believe that.
Simon, you have any idea why I called you?
No.
Think about it.
Stop.
Thank you.
That took some time, my friends. That took some time. Okay.
It's your turn, Guy.
Yeah, no, that's the most awful thing to do.
Yeah.
It just reminds me of my school days.
Yeah, exactly.
Asking me stupid questions. Just say what is on your mind. Just tell him.
Yeah.
Look, this is what I would like to talk with you about.
All right. So then let's do that.
Just last round. Okay. Okay.
All right.
But the eye contact and the voice is okay, right?
Now and then.
Okay. So let's start over.
Okay. I'm saying what I want. Okay. What's on my plate? Okay. Hey, Simon, how are you doing?
Hi. Yeah, a lot of work. Okay.
Okay. Simon.
Yeah.
Let me get straight to the point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm super pissed.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Well,
That's the point.
what's happening?
What's happening? I
Yeah,
can tell you, this is happening, Simon.
Yeah. Okay.
This is like 8 phone calls in 10 minutes.
Stop.
No. We're walking step by step.
Yeah.
Right?
So, Jacob.
I was not the only one. Louisa also showed.
Oh, great.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'm happy to.
Yeah,
Oh,
Louisa.
you were doing the one-upmanship, Michael. You
The
were
what?
like, it's me, the one-upmanship. Look at me. I'm so stressed. I'm calling you because I want something from you. So let's get to the point. What do you want from him? Don't belabor the point about how stressed you are.
Absolutely.
All right.
What is really possible with this is also I mean, I think didn't shine through that much here in this version now, but you can also show the fear that lies behind all this behavior. Yeah, the fear of maybe losing my job, the fear of being in charge, the fear of making many decisions right now, and this is my motivation to act like I do and stuff. And this is so super interesting.
Okay. So one last, and then.
Yeah, or maybe should get 2 minutes for questions, right?
All right.
So thinking about now because time is up after that.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Are you doing this with Institute Synergy assessment?
No.
Okay. Because the role model that you described is very similar.
Yes, absolutely. And that is because it's a standard model from the Netherlands.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. They use it all the time over there, find literature all over the place. This is the standard model to introduce many concepts, for working with actors. Yeah.
Okay.
Quite a model which is some centuries old.
Yeah.
And so the seminar acting method is here in Germany. It's still quite new, although there it's really standard. And the thing what we try to do is just combine the two things, like the LSI styles plus the seminar actor methods, to make the model more alive and feelable.
Works pretty well. I've done that myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Any more questions? It's always the worst moment in those webinars when you sit there and waiting for questions, right?
And no one is asking.
So
Louisa is
Hi,
looking
Louisa.
that she would like to say. I'm not sure what
Perfect.
it look like.
No, I mean, yes, no, yes. I mean, the questions would be, how much fun do you have doing this? Because
it's horror. It's really
working with Seymour is like pain in the ass. But no, honestly, it's so much fun to do this.
it is.
So much fun because I'm always improvising. I don't know exactly what to do. I play, of course, I know what I'm playing, but always improvised. And the point is really for the participants, it is such an eye opener. They really projizieren Typen in mich hinein. So yeah, they project their own people into me. When they work with me, then they react in their classical way, so they feel what's standing in their way. Yeah, such an eye opener and so much fun. And what I love most of this is that it is so easy. You know, all this LSI stuff. In the end, it's easy, but you have to see it, to feel it.
I appreciate it. So what I've taken away from you is I do a lot of this sort of improv one-on-one or one-on-group anyway, because it's a natural way. I think we probably all find it's a natural way to work with groups or individuals. But the fact that you're using it as a way to introduce the concept, it's kind of like teaching by stealth. That is my learning from today, and I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah, Thank you very much. Cool.
Good to know.
No, that's a fun part.
Maybe one add from my side. Maybe you know those people who get their LSI or LWS, and you see it and say, "Yeah, that's not me. Mistake. Yeah, someone else." And as soon as you start to play with them, and you get the conflict situation right, they immediately fall into their behavior styles, and when they look on their LSI afterwards, they get it, and then you can really start to work with them. And it makes fun because when you work in a group, you're immediately going into the emotion, and you go immediately in the daily struggle of all the leaders, because that is the situations they have trouble every day with, and we train exactly them from the first moment on. So very less theory and a lot of theory by learning it into role plays.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you both, Michael and Simon, for the very enjoyable and interesting demonstration. Very, very nice way of getting on creating awareness and self-reflection, as you said, Michael. Many, many thanks. Is my understanding right that you need to run? You're not with us for the Q&A.
Yeah, I'm very sorry. We have to, like, a little bit of Corona action here and there, so we have to jump right on, you know, this all the time. But hope to see you very soon, and have a good rest of your meeting here.
Thank you, Simon.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Goodbye. Thank you very much.
So welcome back after the break. I hope you enjoyed our first two presentations, fantastic presenters. And I would like to continue and introduce our next presenter, which is Udo Wuchner. Udo Wuchner studied commercial information technology, and he has more than 25 years of experience in various culture areas and industries. And he helps people and organizations to visualize complex topics and to create simple and sustainable solutions. So if you're ready, Udo.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
I can.
Perfect.
The stage is yours.
So I hope you see now my presentation.
We do.
Perfect. So it's a little bit, let's say, controversial theme I will present today, why cultural change doesn't work. I think it's also good to hear sometimes about things which are not so good and to learn from that. So today I want to raise your awareness for signs in projects in the process of a cultural change, where you could look at, where you have to look for, and to see, yeah, maybe we are not on a good way, and the project is not in a good shape. We should change something, and that's not mainly the culture we will change in the future, but right now to be successful in that cultural change project. So you mentioned myself, I worked in several culture projects, but mostly also in business process re-engineering projects. Okay, so I studied computer science, I have a coaching degree, and yeah, also when I didn't change or wasn't in a cultural project, in a cultural change project, I have gained a lot of experience how people work together and what is working and why projects may fail, not only cultural projects. But what I would like also to mention today, I'm not just the analytical guy or the coach. Since last year, I work professional as a photographer. So feel free to join my website. So my experience, where is it based on? I mentioned I worked in different cultural projects and business process reengineering projects. IT related more or less, new software deployments, developments. People have to change the way of working with tools, of working together. Based on human synergistics, I used always in the cultural projects the OCI ideal and the OCI and the OEI in some cases the current profiles, online and paper-based. Sponsors of these projects were always part of the management team, which is good, the CEO or the CFO, and the project team. We had always people from HR, the head of HR, and I will come back to that later in the recommendations. And also we had always staff out of the financial department, sub-project managers from the financial department. So the main topic today, I want to raise your awareness for signs to look out why cultural change may not work. I have four main topics gathered together from my experience. The first topic, the change initiative may be a fig leaf, ein Feigenblatt in German. So I have seen that some people thought, responsible people thought, we do the survey and that's it. So when the people see we do something and that's just filling out some online forms or paper forms, that's enough, and this is enough to show them we will change anything or something. So look out, is the management really interested in the results of the survey, or do they just want to make a survey for the sake of a survey? This is a big point I have seen. The second hot topic is the change readiness of the management team. I have often seen a denial attitude and the lack of self-reflection. I think this is something you all may have seen also. So if you hear statements like these results are wrong, there is no scientific basis for these figures. Or what I also heard, the employees answered wrongly. They didn't understand the questions. Or another statement I heard also many times, where is the benchmark? Without a benchmark for our company, I don't know if our culture is good or bad. So they hadn't been able to check that, to see that they need to build up their own ideal culture and not the benchmark, to follow a benchmark of someone else. So for this topic, I will bring you later some insights into the data we could see in the human synergistics results. Then the third point, the dealing with expectations and the awareness of the organizations. How long does it take until the results are announced? Does it take several months because nobody wants to let's say give feedback to the employees, to the people who participated in the survey? No, I don't know why, but it took in one case more than half a year. And then the people are not interested anymore, the employees, more or less, in the results. And are the published results really the real deep and interesting results? Or are they more or less just 2-3 high-level results to keep the people calm, because we don't want to change anything. Yeah, we made something. We hope it will get better. And the last point, is there really a top-down approach, or is it missing? When there is no serious plan visible from CEO over the management team, over the different subdivisions, hierarchy levels, to work on the results and then to take action in the management team, top down into different departments and teams. Is this top-down approach really available, and will it be done? Or is it more or less on top management level, and they don't want to distribute the results, and based on that to take action then into the company itself? When I took a look at one day at the results of the OEI, I found then really an interesting pattern, which reflects highly to the change readiness. I think you know all these charts. This is an OEI. It's made up data, so it's not actual data, but it's the pattern I have seen. I will show you. This is, for example, results are the results of the people, of the employees without managerial responsibility. Then I had the idea, if I take the results of the middle and upper management and make an overlay of the results of the data without managerial responsibility, what do I see then? Oops, I see a difference. And if I then take the management team, I see again differences between without managerial responsibility and also to the middle and upper management. And for me, this was a key point to show then also the responsibles when they said, the data is wrong, or when I thought the change readiness is not there, the lack of self-reflection is there, to show them, look, where are you and where's the rest of the company? And this is something really interesting to show if you just make an overlay with the data of the OEI now, to see the differences in the results, and then to see also, are they ready for change? And then you can discuss. This was for me an eye-opener when I had problems in projects that the management doesn't want to change anything or said data is wrong. So what are my recommendations now based from my experience? I would focus on leadership and the management team itself. If I would do another cultural project, I wouldn't start with OCI and OEI. I would just focus on the leadership with your tools and prepare the leadership and management team, the mindset, to bring the mindset on a level that cultural change can work, that self-reflection is visible. The next point, find the story. Where is the pain? I liked the project most where we had been able to focus on the value chain. Okay, where are the benefits when we change the behavior of people? Is it just for the sake of changing behavior, or what do we gain? If you see companies working in silos, departments not talking to each other, what is the process of producing a service or a product? where do we lose money? Where do we earn money? If you find there the pain, that the points where money is lost, this is for me a good point to start to talk to the management and talk to them and say them, look, this is your, let's say, process, the main process in your company where you should earn money, but you have here, there, and there problems because people are not working together. You have different approaches of doing things, and so on and so on. Then never start without a responsible CEO and position the main change driver in his office. I think we know it, but we should always take care of that, and don't let HR drive the cultural change. That's for me important. HR has to be part of the project team, but don't let them drive the cultural change. Because if we go back to the point with find the story, where is the pain? HR normally doesn't know where the pain is in the company based on the operations side. So I focus more on the operations. And then plan the whole initiative, including taking actions top down, very important. And get always the commitment and check for the commitment. And otherwise, say no. Don't do the project or stop the project, make a pit stop and solve the problems without going further down the road. So this was it from my side. I hope I'm in time.
Yes, you are. Thank you, Udo, for your
welcome.
Valuable and interesting insights, to share your experience with an honest experience about the biggest pitfalls you experienced in terms of your project, and also to hear your recommendations, what should be done. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I would suggest we directly continue with our last event piece, and it's a live interview with our dear friend Guy Kempfert. Guy was global head of learning and organization development in major global companies before he set up his own consultancy. And he's now the owner and managing director of CultureWorks, working in various industry and also for non-profit organizations. His main focus is organization development as such, team development and coaching of leaders or individuals. And he basically supports individuals, teams, and organizations in change processes. So, and this is where he came in touch with human synergistics and our diagnostic tools. And if you are ready, Guy, I'm not seeing you right now.
Okay, I'm sorry, but we
Right
have
corner.
some building people in the house.
No problem.
Okay, good.
I just introduced you, so
okay,
everyone knows who you are.
Good, good. Everything is true.
Exactly. So actually connecting to Udo's presentation, I guess it really nicely connects, and we would like to hear your experience around creating constructive cultures. And one tough question we usually get in terms of new culture initiatives: how do you introduce a culture change program to a company?
Now, this is a bit of a strange situation for me now, because we are all experts. We all do, and we all deal with the same topics and the same questions. And I think we all have enough expertise to implement culture change or anything like that. So what can I tell you that you don't already know? I try. I try nevertheless. Okay, so here's my tuppence. I very much like what Udo has just mentioned, and also what Jochen said about the difficulties. And I've been involved in quite some culture changes from the inside and also from the outside. And one of my favorite topics or subjects is that, first of all, I would not call it a culture change. I would never, ever do that again. And the reason, and the question is why. If you call it a culture change, it's very nebulous, it's very vague. People have no clue. So what the hell is a culture change? So first of all, it's difficult to communicate. Secondly, it's also negative. It's because people think, our culture is bad. And I have been working here in this culture, so apparently I have been wrong. I've been making mistakes. So the culture so far is no good anymore. So that creates resistance on the one hand, and it also creates a lot of enthusiasm on the other hand, because people get really, really enthusiastic when they hear, wow, we're going to do a culture change. There's going to be a new culture. So there's so much expectation on their side, and it's still very nebulous. And what I experience right now in a company which called their endeavors a culture change, now they're going through very, very tough times. So they had to make, or don't know if they had to, but they made people redundant. The share price fell, etc., etc., etc. And now all those who had always been resistant have now turned their backs on the culture journey and blame everything, and telling people, look, we've always said this is not going to work. So my approach is different. So just like Jochen or Udo, the first thing we consultants always try to find out is, what actually is the goal? What is it that you want to change? And be as precise as possible. Tell me. So spend as much time as possible on the goal. So you have to get really, really clear on what's going to be different later on. So ask questions like, describe the goal to me. What is it like? What will be different? What is it that you can do better afterwards? What's going to happen if you don't do anything? So let's be as concrete as possible, and then nail it down to one particular thing. So because they don't want a culture change, they want a more constructive leadership attitude, or they want a better customer orientation, or they want more innovation, or they want whatever they want, or more security. And if you focus on just one thing, let's take the example of customer orientation. If you just go for customer orientation, internal and external customer orientation, that really requires a mindset of all the people. Udo just slightly negatively mentioned HR, but my experience with HR, and I worked in HR for quite some time, is they very often have the tendency that they bring good to the world. They create new tools and new performance methods and processes every 2 years. And they hardly ever ask the management, their internal consultants. But if you manage to raise the awareness of everyone in the company that they have internal and external customers to think about before they, launch anything, before they implement anything, that requires networking, that requires stakeholder management, that requires collaboration across boundaries, that requires so many things, and is always customer orientation. And no one in the company will be against customer orientation. So if you say as a company, that's the big goal, we're going for improved customer orientation, you will have hardly any resistance. Some people may say, well, I'm already good at that. It can't do any harm if we focus on that. And then you can work on this. And over time, mindsets will change because people will have to work differently. So that's my big learning. I fully agree with Udo on having the CEO on board. If the CEO is not there, if he delegates the task to whoever, you've got to be very, very skeptical and even suspicious. So the CEO really has to stand behind it, and he has to role model it. So there's one very nice example at a big Swiss pharma company in Basel, Novartis, which works with human synergistics. And there you have a CEO who has tried to, or is still trying to turn around a culture in terms of a more constructive leadership. And he role models the whole thing, and is really a big thing at Novartis, because Novartis has had a very, very authoritarian leadership style for the last, I don't know, 150 years. So it's not easy to change that, and people are still very, very reticent about it. But you see signs, and this is mostly due to the fact that he is very much behind it. I hope I still have got the question right. So
you did
get clarity on the goal, and nail it down to one very specific thing you're going to change, which is feasible for everyone. It's not nebulous and not vague. Work top down, but also try and work bottom up. So it's always good to have change ambassadors, culture champions, you name it. Because if it's only top down, it is also perceived as coming from top down, and it's much easier. And it's in my opinion, it's better owned by the people if they see that, you know, there are people, there are their peers, their colleagues who advocate the change as well. And I share Udo's view. Having HR in the driver's seat is tempting, because people think that this is an HR thing, but make sure somebody from the business is in the driver's seat and drives the whole thing. And still, you need somebody to drive it. You need somebody. You need to institutionalize the change. I mean, this is a contradiction in terms. How can you institutionalize change? But if you don't have somebody who is truly responsible for driving this, or a group of people who monitor what's going on, who communicate what happens, who plan actions, plan workshops, who are the point of reference, then you rely on either external consultants, which is of course always a very good thing to do, but in the end, if you really want to sustainably implement it, you need somebody within the organization who's responsible and who's the guardian of the change, and who people can refer to. I think these are, for me, the main principles. One topic, CEO, top down and bottom up, and also institutionalized change. And then of course there are many more, but in my view, if you can start with that, that's already a biggie.
Thank you for your perspective, Guy.
And I've overrun already.
But we have still some time for one last question.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
And it is actually, you mentioned a couple of points, I think, connected to this topic. How do you keep the momentum?
As an external consultant?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or maybe as, what do you do to keep the momentum on the organization side? I mean.
Yeah, okay. You hope there's no pandemic issue. You hope and pray. And then, I mean, you need to have a good plan, and you need to work with those people who drive the change with it from within, and make sure that these people that you enable, if they are not enabled yet, that you enable these people and act as their consultant. But you, as a consultant, external consultant, you can't lead the change and can't make it sustainable. You have to use internal people and help them. That's my view.
Thank you, Guy.
You're welcome.
Many, many thanks for your valuable experience and insights. So, looking at what I see here, we are done with the presentation part. So I first of all would like to thank all the presenters, even though some of them are not digitally connected with us anymore. But thank you, Jochen, for your case showing how the culture change was done at Spreadshirts. Thank you, Simon and Michael. I will thank them later on as well. Thank you, Udo, for your insights why culture change doesn't work in certain cases. And thank you, Guy, for your valuable insights around what we should do better as accredited practitioners in terms of culture change. And I would suggest if there are any questions from you guys. I know that Guy had a question in the beginning for Jochen. I remember that. Otherwise, I will also need to check.
I'm going to send him an email. Don't worry.
Okay. Fine.
Oh, I can ask you now, John. I mean, all of a sudden, I mean, when I saw the pain points, I thought, my God, that's not, I mean, this company is just lost. And all of a sudden I saw the results and everything had been, turned upside down. And so the question to you is, what do you think was the main building block or the main success factor without which this wouldn't have happened? I mean, there were many, but if there's just one that you would put your finger on, what was it?
I think the one point was that they all felt the same pain. And generally speaking, they were willing to overcome the problem because technically or individually, they liked each other. I mean, it was not like they had personal feuds with each other. But they just didn't know how to handle the situation. They had personal views on the agenda, on the strategy, and they couldn't overcome it by simply pounding the dead horse in terms of this is what I think. They never got across where are the commonalities between the two issues of you and me. And once we overcame that, we can realize that that emotions were getting in the way of communication. They actually sort of solved a lot of the problems that there were.
So they didn't see the elephant in the room.
In a way, they were experts in their fields, and they had a leader who was very unusual for leaders. He was not read. He was very constructive in a way, and it was sort of perceived as defensive. Yeah. People felt like, well, if he doesn't say anything, then I will have to say something. And then you would add up, you would have the second row in 20 minutes or so. And once they overcame that, and they realized that their constructive behavior would actually open the door to communication, they very quickly overcame that. Good. That's not saying that they didn't have their arguments afterwards, but it actually had an impact on the firm as a whole.
Okay, good, thanks.
Thank you, Jochen. My pleasure. Well, then I just would like to thank you. Thank you, presenters, and thank you, audience, for investing the time, for having the time. And I hope you gain some something out of it, learn something new, and I think this is the real purpose of this event, to really see the different approaches, methods our AP network use and utilize in order to get the message across. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. And hope to see you in the next, I guess, virtual regional meeting.